Well, here's something I never thought we would see. Windows XP actually running on a first-gen Apple TV. Now, some of you may remember a video I did on this years ago where I went down a huge rabbit hole trying to get this working, which essentially resulted in me wasting a bunch of time because nothing worked in the end. But thanks to a developer who's been working on this port for the past couple years, we're going to revisit it today and see how well this television slab handles an operating system that it was never meant to run. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So I gotta give a huge thank you to DistroHopper39B, also known as Distro's Projects here on YouTube, for literally making this entire video possible. He actually commented on my original video explaining why I was wasting my time, because as it turns out, the first gen Apple TV will only boot from an EFI file bundled with its pre-installed operating system. So to get it to boot another OS, you have to create a fake mock kernel file that contains another bootloader, and at the time, one that contained the Windows XP bootloader did not exist. And well, technically it still doesn't, because he ended up using FreeLDR, the ReactOS bootloader, and packaged that into a fake mock kernel file to trick the Apple TV into thinking that it's booting OS X when it's actually booting Windows XP. And if you want a more detailed look at this, I'll have his secondary channel linked down below, where he's got a few videos going over the development process and various tests that he's run at trying to get this working, and I just have to say, it's a really impressive achievement. What he's also done is made a hard drive image available so that all we have to do is download that, write it to the internal drive in the Apple TV, and we should be on our way. There isn't a from scratch guide available yet, so we may revisit this in the future and do it from scratch, because I think that would be really cool to kind of see the whole process. But for now, let's go ahead and crack this thing open, get the hard drive out, and see how well the Apple TV handles running Windows XP. Alright, so we've taken this thing apart a couple times on this channel now, so I'm sure you guys are pretty familiar with the process. In fact, the adhesive, that I loosened to peel this back portion off is still, loose, so we can just go in there, and that's the wrong bit, isn't it? Okay, we're just going to ignore that. I had the wrong bit in the T8 slot in my iFixit case here. So yeah, these are T8 bits. There are 4 of them we have to remove here to just get the back cover off. They are different sizes. These 2 here are the larger ones, or the longer ones, I guess you would say. And then we've got these ones back here that I just kind of peeled up and just did the corners like that so we didn't have to, remove the entire thing. And then we'll just do the last one here. And now the entire thing should just lift up, and the hard drive is located right here. So we're just going to flip it over like that. And there we go. So to remove that, the screws are actually we got to peel this back a little bit more. And you see we have these screws here. And there we go. So we're just going to lift this back up here. There is still a little bit of adhesive underneath the drive that you can see is already kind of loose. So we'll take that out, remove the back plate entirely, and then just disconnect the cable from the drive. And we can plug this into an adapter, get it into our computer, and copy that image over. So you can find the hard drive image over here on archive.org. It is in a GZ file format, so you just want to download that, extract it. And then I've got HDD raw copy here. I've got the file selected, so we're going to click on continue. And then the destination is going to be our Fujitsu 40 gig drive, which we've got connected over USB. So we're going to click continue and start. Of course, it will let us know everything's going to be overwritten. We'll say yes, and we will let it do its thing. And after about 7 minutes, we are done. Though before we connect this back up to the Apple TV, I do want to show you in disk management here just the layout of the partitions. So we have a boot partition and then a 7.45 gig NTFS partition that actually has Windows on it. So you've got about 30 gigs on this drive that just remains unallocated. And if we go into this PC, we can of course go into the boot partition, and there is this README in here that I want to briefly go through. This is, a little thing from the developer. After 778 days of work, it's finally working. Windows XP on the Apple TV. That is a lot of time, man. I mean, holy cow. So this is good. What works? We can boot to the desktop. obviously the IDE hard disk, USB, basic graphics over HDMI, Ethernet works, that's awesome, and Wi-Fi and audio with the Boot Camp 3.1.1 drivers, which I do have. I'll make sure to copy those over once we get XP working on here, and since USB works, we should be able to copy that over just without having to like write it to the hard drive while we've got it plugged into my computer here. Unfortunately, this is something that was mentioned to me. The accelerated NVIDIA driver does not work. The IR remote doesn't appear to work. Shutdown/reboot hangs, could be anything to be honest. Safe mode doesn't work because of video driver issues. Keyboard control in freeloader, more complicated than it's worth. A couple things that were untested: devices enabled by chipset drivers, Bluetooth, optical audio, and component video. And then there's a brief summary of how this all works and some acknowledgements. And hey, look at that, the Darkfire's making another appearance. You may recognize that name from my recent ReactOS video. Because yeah, the ReactOS team, with this utilizing the freeloader bootloader, they definitely contribute to this, in that way. A couple other acknowledgements down here. And speaking of acknowledgements, now's a great time to acknowledge today's video sponsor, Surfshark, whose VPN can run on just about all of your devices, even an Apple TV. So if you're looking to hide your IP address from those shady websites or access region-locked content, they've got you covered with their affordable plans that all come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. It's super easy to connect to one of their over 3,200 servers hosted in 100 countries to change your device's location in a flash. And you can do it on all of your devices at the same time because they don't have a limit like a lot of those other providers. Plus, they've got some other cool stuff bundled in. Something I really like is their alternative ID feature, which lets you create proxy email addresses for those times when you don't want to give out your real one. And you can get access to all of it if you sign up at surfshark.com/MichaelMJD and get 4 extra months for free with the purchase of a year or 2-year plan. So be sure to check them out, and huge thanks again to Surfshark for making this video possible. Alright, we're almost there. We just have to reconnect the hard drive here to the IDE cable, and I'm just going to put it in here and screw in 2 of the 4 screws. Just in case we have to get in here again, because, well, knowing this channel's track record, that is certainly a possibility. But I do have a good feeling about this, so we're just going to rest the bottom cover on like that, flip it over, get this plugged in. It should just power on as soon as I do that, and there it goes. Yeah, okay, so I believe we're supposed to see like a bootloader menu, and then obviously the Windows XP boot screen. We just have this line. And there we go, freeloader version 3.0, loading system hive, detecting hardware, loading NTOS kernel.exe. This is pretty freaking awesome to see. Holy cow. We haven't even booted into XP yet, and I'm already like really excited. Oh my gosh, there we go. And there we are on the freaking desktop, dude. Like, this is this is freaking insane. Now, I have the HDMI signal here split between this monitor and my capture device. I'm not getting a signal on the capture device. I'm wondering if that's just from, it could be like a DRM related thing, but I do have in fact, that's probably what it is. I do have an HDMI splitter that is able to remove like the DRM signal from the VCR that I use, but yeah, now that I think about it, it's probably there's just a newer type of DRM on this thing that gets sent over the HDMI cable, and so the capture device isn't able to pick up on it, unfortunately, even going through an HDMI splitter. So anyways, we're gonna be stuck with this with this output here. Although you can see that the display here is a little bit off-centered. That might be something we have to just change from the monitor settings, because under display, in the resolution settings, we actually can't go up from 1280 by 720. That is what we are stuck on here. And yeah, it just shows as a generic frame buffer mini port adapter, because again, we cannot utilize the built-in graphics, the proper NVIDIA graphics on this thing, because apparently that breaks. Well, I went through the menus. It looks like the frickin' geometry setting, which is the one we want to get to, is grayed out for whatever reason, which is fantastic. I may have to try a different monitor. Okay, well, I just swapped monitors here, and, well, the picture shows up a lot better on this monitor. And, yeah, you can see we are running Service Pack 3. And if we go into the Start menu here, I noticed there are a couple of programs that installed, presumably he was using these for testing. So we got Geekbench, we have 7-zip in here, of course, all your standard accessories and stuff. Why don't we just open up Geekbench? So we're just gonna say later here, we're in tryout mode, And okay, so it shows up as just a genuine Intel processor, 1.0 gigahertz at 1.0 gigahertz, model Apple Incorporated Apple TV 1,1, 252 megabytes of DDR2 SD RAM. Let's go ahead and run those benchmarks and see see what score we get. So this version of Geekbench could not display the score like within the application. It just uploaded it and then created this page over on geekbench.com, and this is the full report here. We got a score of 769. That's the Geekbench score anyways. Then you have the individual scores for, you know, integer, floating point, memory, and stream. You got your version number right there, you know, upload date and all that, and then here's your system information. Again, same stuff going on here. And yeah, you can probably already tell I'm on a completely different computer, by the way, because Windows XP could not, you know, display this web page in Internet Explorer 6. So, but yeah, here's all your performance results here, if you were curious. One thing I'm curious about is if we do a search for Apple TV in the Geekbench browser here, though, okay, only Geekbench 6. Can we not search for Geekbench, like 2.0 or, you know, just versions earlier than Geekbench 6? I guess not. Because, yeah, I mean, we got zero search results for all of these. What if we do, like, well, Apple's going to return a bunch of stuff. Maybe Apple TV one word? Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. I was thinking we could, you know, see if anybody else has run these tests on an Apple TV, which I assume that DistroHopper did at some point. You know, that's why that it was on there. But yeah, it's able to run Geekbench and give us a score. One thing that I just realized after I was doing all this is I was like, oh, you know, I'm sure that the audio and the Wi-Fi drivers are already installed on this since it's a, you know, pre-made hard drive image. And sure enough, that's exactly the case. So we have the audio driver installed down here. You can see we have the Realtek HD Audio Manager, and we have the wireless adapter working. So I can open this up, and you can see that we've got a bunch of wireless networks in here. However, I am plugged in via Ethernet right now. So if we run, not that, we run CMD, and we ping google.com here, you see we get a reply. So we are on the network. That being said, I do have CPU-Z copied over to this drive here, because I had somebody, when I first posted that I was going to be making this video, I had somebody say, hey, why don't you try CPU-Z and see, you know, what shows up in there. So we're going to plug this in. I've got a powered USB hub hooked up to this thing right now, since there's only one USB port on the Apple TV. And so I've got my keyboard plugged into that. I have the mouse plugged into the keyboard, but I do want to have this for a couple other things we'll be trying out a little bit later on. So we're going to plug in our USB flash drive, have it recognize everything. Now, one thing I have noticed, and this could be just my particular configuration, but for whatever reason, the sound, first of all, doesn't work over HDMI. Now, with this monitor here, it doesn't have HDMI, so I have it going through a DVI adapter, so obviously the sound's not going to work on here. But I tried it on a couple TVs that I have. It didn't get any audio going through HDMI whatsoever, but I was able to use the composite audio jacks on the Apple TV. However, the sound output is very, very quiet, and I can't seem to really do much about that. Anyways, let's go into our removable disk here, and I've got this version of CPU-Z that can run on XP. So we're going to do that, accept the agreement, and there we go. You know, we're not going to get the Ask toolbar, no thank you. And yeah, we'll make a desktop icon, sure. Here you go. So it shows an Intel A1XX, socket 479, genuine Intel processor at 1.0 gigahertz. Let's go to the main board here. So it's an Apple Incorporated model Mac-F422, you know, whole number there. PVT. Oh my God, guys, it's a prototype. Yeah, if you know anything about those G3 iBook eBay listings that have all those horrendous mods done to them that are advertised as prototypes because the board says PVT, even though Apple just shipped a bunch of PVT boards with retail units. So yeah, they just get passed off as prototypes even though they're not. And I guess this board here is showing up as a PVT even though this is a retail unit. Chipset, Southbridge, there you go, revision 3, and the BIOS is just branded as Apple Computer Incorporated. AT, you know, your whole version number there, 925 of 07. PCI Express graphics interface. Memory, we have 252 megabytes of RAM. Yeah, the RAM on here is pretty small. I actually saw a post from DOS Dude 1. He actually tried this out on an Apple TV. He had upgraded to 512 megabytes of RAM. So yeah, you're definitely gonna get better performance if you do that. So we don't have anything there. Graphics, yeah, so here's generic frame buffer mini port adapter. Still shows the NVIDIA logo in here. But yeah, again, we don't have the proper drivers, working on here, unfortunately. A couple other things I'd like to do is, let's go into Run here and open up DX Diag. I had somebody mention they were just curious what this looked like. So yeah, here you go. Of course, the system manufacturer, system model, all that's going to remain the same. Processor and memory stuff is going to be the same over here as well. And yeah, here's our sound display. Just going to show again that generic frame buffer mini port adapter. And yeah, I am definitely curious about, the gaming performance, because that's what you're gonna do with an Apple TV, right? Is freaking like load up Half-Life or something. I mean, of course, that makes the most sense, at least on this channel anyways. So what I've got is a good old USB DVD drive that we're going to plug in to the USB hub here. There we go, recognized it, and we will install. Oh, the NT Virtual DOS machine crashed. Well, that's certainly interesting. So I guess that doesn't work on here. Huh, that's interesting. Well, we'll try just to run the, the version that is already installed that I just have to copy over from the CD. All right, well, well, that's a good sign. We got the, we got the menu loaded up, but let's see if we can, okay. It just minimized it. We have, well, there is like a prompt there. I'm assuming that's probably like, this is not good, like the graphics mode is not functional or something. But we can't even see what it is. It keeps just minimizing the game. That's interesting. Let's just see if we can go into configuration, video. So default video mode is software. Oh, we don't even have like a resolution to select. That's interesting. Let's try Direct 3D, which of course it's gonna bring up this frickin' page if I don't want it to do. Okay, yeah, so we do have Direct 3D modes. That's interesting. So yeah, the software doesn't have any video modes. But yeah, we can do 640 by 480. That's fine. Let's see if this actually works. I'll be kind of surprised if it does. Okay. Yeah, so it's working under Direct 3D. The game runs. I mean, we gotta give it that. And I can probably go in here and lower, like, let's do 320 by 240. Yeah, we just got this tiny little block up here now. And even that is still struggling a lot. And you can see there's like some artifacting going on too. Look at that. So, yeah. Half-Life runs. It just does not run particularly well. We can always try OpenGL too. And of course get an error, OpenGL mode is not supported by your video card. Yeah, kind of expected. I mean, like, I will say it's not the worst performance out of Half-Life that we've seen on this channel, but it's definitely not great. And though, like I said, this is definitely due to the fact that we don't have the proper video driver working. Well, there is one more thing I'd like to try. I figured we'd see if we can run Doom on here, which now, the fact that the NT Virtual DOS machine is not working, I don't think we're going to be able to do that just, through Windows here without installing something like DOSBox, which I actually have that copied over here just in case, not just in case, because we're going to have to use DOSBox. So let's just pop in Doom disk number 1 to this USB floppy drive that I've got here. And, yep, ntvdm.exe has encountered a problem and needs to close. So, yeah, that's not going to work. And we get an error decompressing Doom, because, yeah, it's not going to work. So, let's go into the USB drive. I've got the latest version of DOSBox on here, which I don't actually know if this works with XP. Let's just try to install it here and see if it works, which, the installation is working fine, and can we run DOSBox? Alright, we can. Cool. So, yeah, the latest version of DOSBox still works on XP. I've honestly not messed around a whole lot with DOSBox in a while. Oh gosh, now I gotta remember all the commands. Is it like mount a floppy directory? Oh, that's the... Oh, no, mount a colon. Okay, mount... I'm gonna have to look up all the commands again. Alright, well I was close. It's mount A:/T floppy. Okay, maybe that's not it then. Oh, it's A:/. That's what you have to do. Okay, A:/T floppy. There we go. And then we can mount the C drive, if I can spell this right. Mount C. There we go. So now, if we go over to the A drive and run install, it's reading off the drive, and there we go. Alright, we've got it installed, got it configured. Let's go ahead and run Doom and see what we get here. It is working. You hurt me plenty. And oh yeah, I've got I only have a keyboard set as the controls. But yeah, I mean, not surprisingly, since DOSBox is an emulator, and it's just emulating all this, it works totally fine, just as long as your computer can run DOSBox. You can run games and DOS applications underneath it, which is just really freaking cool. I'm sure there are more intuitive ways to run Doom on an Apple TV, maybe through one of the Linux distros that you can get on here, but it's just really neat to see it running under Windows XP. It's just cool to have Windows XP on here. I mean, I know I've said that like 20 million times already, but it is just like super fascinating that that this works, and that somebody out there was able to put in the necessary time and effort to get it working. So I want to give again a huge thank you to DistroHopper39B for putting in all that effort to get this working. Why would you want to do this? That's a pretty great question. The only answer I have for you is because it's freaking cool, and it's one of those things you can just do to say that you did it. And I want to give a huge thank you again to DistroHopper39B for taking the time to just get this working. It's incredible. And yeah, I'll have all that information linked down below if you guys want to go and try this out yourselves. But for now, that is going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed, maybe consider becoming a patron or a channel member to get early access to these videos before anybody else. But either way, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.